Jimmy, Friday night watching the Mets and the Nationals and watching Jacob deGrom, I had an epiphany, a revelation, a moment of clarity, as I put it, just a few moments ago. And there was one at bat, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was facing Josh Harrison. And it's a 3-pitch at bat, Jimmy, and it's all 3 sliders. I think it was like 92, and then like 93. Harrison strikes out swinging. And I don't know why, Jimmy, but right then and there, I thought to myself, this is what it feels like to watch Cy Young, to watch Walter Johnson, to watch, if we're talking modern day, to watch Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens. Like, this is what it feels like. What Jacob deGrom did on Friday night. I mean, retiring the final 19 batters. And this is even more crazy. It was the 16th time since the turn of the 20th century, 1901, people, for those of you who are not good with just converting that over. Since 1901, just the 16th time a pitcher struck out 15 or more batters and had no walks. And think about this. The only pitchers to have 14 Ks in 3 straight appearances. Jimmy, how about this list? Jacob deGrom, Garrett Cole in 2019. Oh, and Pedro Martinez in 1999, when he just put the world on fire and went scorched earth on the entire league. Jacob deGrom is doing just that. And Jimmy, we mentioned it at the top of the show and not taking this for granted. I am not a Mets fan, but I'm not going to take his greatness for granted anymore. To me, it's must see. Out of every 5 days, I have to watch Jacob deGrom pitch now, because every single outing he is just showing you, and even at this, on the other side of 30, Jimmy, when you think pitchers are going to start to wear down and wind down, he's only getting better. And it's just, what can you say? He is a generational talent. And what we're watching right now is something that we are going to talk about, to our kids and our kids' kids in the future, and explaining how we were able to watch one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
I'm glad how you cleared that up about your epiphany, because people usually don't have epiphanies watching the Mets. So I appreciate you bringing that about. But yes, this guy is incredible. This guy has more RBI this season than earned runs allowed. I mean, this is just silly how good he has been. And you sit there and you say, wow, how could he possibly get better? And then he comes back this year and he is better. It's unbelievable. Like, I've never seen somebody get to the top of their craft and improve. It's unbelievable. And you look at what the Mets have done so far this year. Offense is not hitting. The pitching staff has really saved them. But you look at Jacob deGrom in his last 80 starts, has a 2 ERA. 2. That's like 3 years, basically. The 2 ERA. The Mets are 38-42 in those games, by the way. But they did get him the run support last night. And I got to tell you, watching that game, there's been a lot of great Jacob deGrom games over the last few years. That was the best performance of his career for me. That's the best he's looked. It's the most dominant he's been. Yes, it's a beleaguered Nationals lineup, but man, I'm struggling to remember the last time I saw somebody pitch. Maybe not that well, but that dominant. I mean, it was unbelievable how he was just mowing them down left and right. It was unbelievable to watch what he was able to do both last night and on a regular basis. The guy's amazing. It's just, you run out of words to say after a certain point.
It's absolutely unreal. 4 starts this season, 29 innings pitched, 13 hits allowed, 1 earned run, as you mentioned, 3 walks, 50 Ks, which is the most through first 4 starts after Shane Bieber had said it at 48, I believe. Jacob deGrom only gives him a couple weeks to enjoy it and decides to just crush the record by a couple of Ks. But I think what also interests me, because, I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm not on SNY as much as I am on Yes, with post-game, pre-game, and just hearing quotes. But who was it? I believe it was McCann who had said after that game, James McCann had said something to the effect that when talking about deGrom, that he doesn't just want to beat you, Jimmy. He wants to take your heart. He wants to take your soul. He wants to annihilate you. And that's what the greatest of all time, don't you think about Michael Jordan? You think about someone like Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods. All these guys have that killer mentality. They're assassins on the court, on the field, on the pitch, whatever the case may be. And for deGrom, to me, he seems like more of a, and Jimmy, you've been able to cover the Mets. He seems a bit more quiet, reserved, not a guy who's going to be out there and talking about how good he is and how confident he is in his stuff, but someone who's a silent assassin. And when he goes out there on the mound, he lets his stuff do the talking. And I'm just not shocked by McCann saying that, this is his mentality, his attitude, because if you want to be great and if you are going to be known as one of the greatest all time, you just have to be like that. You have to think that in every single start, you are going to give the best outing of your career. And Jacob deGrom is just locked in like nobody right now. Everyone was talking coming into the season, Jacob deGrom, Garrett Cole. No, it's no more head to head. Garrett Cole, as great as he is, he's down here, and Jacob deGrom is in what Shannon Sharp would call the catbird seat, overseeing everyone. Jimmy, it's something that, and when you think about what he's doing hitting at the plate, he's hitting 545, 6 of 11. It's a scoreless game, Jimmy, going into the fifth, and deGrom just says, you know what? Bump this. Let me go help my own cause and rip one into left and get an RBI. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, he is what you want a baseball player to be, someone who can hit, he can pitch, he can do it all. And I mean, it's just refreshing to see because the modern game of baseball, it just isn't that anymore. And to see a pitcher, and Jimmy, you had a great tweet, Shohei who? I mean, with what deGrom's been able to do, it's just, I mean, this is what you want the quintessential baseball player to be.
Yeah, it really is. And you talked about his mindset, and that is his mindset. He's the type of guy, he'll pitch 8 innings, give up 1 run, and then after the game be talking about what he did wrong. Like, that's the type of competitor he is. He's a humble guy. He's extremely accountable. He was asked a couple of starts ago, he'd given up a home run to Jazz Chisholm of the Marlins. They wound up losing the game, I think 3-0 at the end of the day. He only gave up 1 run, but they didn't get any run support for him and they lost. And they asked him after the game, and he was like, no, I'm not thinking about the offense. I'm just thinking about that ball I left over the middle. And that kind of tells you all you need to know. Because this is a guy who, is laser focused, as you said, really in all aspects of the game, right? He pitches, he goes to the bench, and like nobody's talking to him. Like he is just focused on, thinking about the next inning at hand and what he has to do. And it's that mindset, and it's the killer instinct. Like his killer instinct, if you will, is unbelievable. Like when he gets you down 2 strikes, it's like he knows exactly what pitch to turn to, exactly where to put it to get you out, whether that's a strikeout or by some other way. So really incredible to watch. And when you have somebody like that who is working on all cylinders, it's really incredible because we see pitchers come and go all the time, right? Even the best pitchers in the history of the league, they'll have a couple great years, and then there will be some fall off there. That happens to everybody. It's not, it's not meant as a criticism.
Yeah.
Jacob deGrom won the Cy Young in 2018. He won it in 2019. He's throwing harder. He has a higher spin rate, and he has more break on his pitches than he did back then. It's unbelievable to look at. And you talked about James McCann. James McCann probably deserves some credit too, because let's be real, Jacob deGrom was pitching to Wilson Ramos and other assorted catchers, and Tomas Nido caught him last night, which could be a personal catcher type thing going forward. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't want to pitch to anybody else after what I did last night, but nonetheless, we'll see what happens there. But this guy is incredible. And I think Howie Rose had a great tweet this morning. He was talking about how when everyone grows up as a fan, you develop kind of a pantheon of great players, right? So for Howie, it was Tom Seaver and Cleon Jones and the guys on the 69 team in the early 70s Mets. For fans of the 80s Mets, it would be guys like Doc Gooden, if we're sticking strictly to pitching. For fans of the New York Mets today, for fans of baseball today, Jacob deGrom is going to be in that pantheon. He's, to me, absolutely a Hall of Famer, and unbelievable what he has been able to do. And we're all going to tell our kids that we saw him, because this is the type of thing that you're lucky to see while it's happening, and you don't want to take it for granted. So my hat off to Jacob deGrom. It's just unbelievable that we're getting to see this every 5th day. I just feel so lucky.
And I think about this, and it takes me back to, I guess, where the state of pitchers are. And you think about the Yankees and Aaron Boone, he's kind of been criticized for not allowing his starters to go through a lineup a third time. But with Jacob deGrom, he could go through a lineup 10 times, Jimmy. He's just as confident. And I think hitters are as unconfident or disconfident that they can hit him. I mean, you just think about it. There's no leash that you need with Jacob deGrom. You can put him out there and say, all right, if you got to throw 110 plus pitches, we'll take it. If you can give us 8 or 9 innings, we'll take it. If you're in trouble and you got a couple runners on, we're good. We're going to keep you out there because we're that confident in your ability. And I would say this, whenever Jacob deGrom is done, whenever he hangs it up, I hope that they can do a procedure where they take his throwing arm, they take it off, give him a Winter Soldier vibranium arm because he deserves it. Take that arm, that pitching arm, put it in a display case in Cooperstown, Jimmy, because that arm it's going to go down as one of the greatest throwing arms in Major League Baseball history. There's just no doubt about it. And crazy, he came in and broke in at age 26, Jimmy. Yes. It's not like this guy came out like a bat out of hell, 21, 22 years old, like a Pedro, and everyone knew, all right, he's going to be good. He just needs a few more years. deGrom worked for this. He came up, and at 26, where a lot of people, a lot of pitchers get written off like, well, his ceiling's only this. The ceiling is not the roof for Jacob deGrom. Michael Jordan can't tell him that the sky is the limit. And even going into his 30s, it doesn't look like he's showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon.
But even when he was younger and even when he was not at this level of dominance, you could always see something in him. Right?
Yeah.
I always go back to the 2015 NLDS when they were playing the Dodgers. He pitched game 5 of that series, and he did not have it at all that night. He was getting knocked around. He gave up, I think, 7 hits in the first 3 innings. But every inning, there was a jam, and every inning, he got out of it. And you could see the mental side of the game where he was really sharp, even back then, even in his second year in the league in 2015. And he's only gotten, it seems, better with that with time. And obviously, when your 4-seam fastball jumps out of your hand and seemingly rises, that helps too. And the fact that it's 100 miles an hour, not bad either. But the fact that, he's so able to lock in at the times when he needs to lock in, it's just unbelievable. I'm reminded of something from The Last Dance, and you referenced Michael Jordan. And B.J. Armstrong said something about how Jordan had figured out that he didn't need to play basketball other than those 7 minutes a night in the fourth quarter when it was winning time. Basically. And to an extent, it's not exactly the same. But Jacob deGrom figures out the pitches he needs to throw, and that's that. He's just going to let it rip. And it's sort of the same idea to me, where he figures out, he knows exactly what he needs to do, and he's going to go do that. So incredible stuff from him. And at some point, I suppose he'll start giving up some runs, although we haven't seen that yet. So I think you feel good about this right now.
Yeah, Jimmy, he gives up 2 runs in his next start. We all might, go out of our minds saying that he might need to retire and call it a career. God, I mean, the bar that he has set, he is the ultimate neutralizer. I mean, think about it. You get swept by the Cubbies, that 16-4 loss, I believe, on Thursday, just about as bad as it can get. You come back home knowing that you got deGrom on the mound, and right there gives you the win you desperately need. And once the bats start to really wake up, and Lindor showing signs of that, Alonso as well. Well, once the bats wake up, I think that offensive run support is going to be there, and it's going to make life even easier for deGrom, where he could give up a run or two knowing that, his guys are going to, have his back for 4 or 5 runs. So for the Mets, I mean, considering a rocky start where they had to, postpone some games because of COVID, 8-7, first in the National League Eastern Division. So it's a rocky start, but still finding themselves at the top of the division. That's the most important thing.